Hello and welcome to Guy Logic. My name is Temko and today we're taking a look at the Deadly Tower of Monsters. The game designed by Aceteam, the guys that brought us Rock of Ages, as well as Aceteam and a couple of other titles as well. So these guys are not unfamiliar with combining the wackiest of mechanics with the most ridiculous of settings. And today they have decided on combining this setting with a B-movie. Like you would have with a blob, with a thing, or a monster of Frankenstein. They made it into a game. And the entire thing is a narrative experience with a director's cut setting. And the game really plays as if you're in a B-movie. With monsters looking in costumes and monsters looking as if they're just straight from somebody's backyard lawn ornament. So, we're gonna dive into the options menu. If you don't want to listen to me speak about options and settings for the next 5 or 10 minutes, I've put an annotation somewhere on screen. You can click that and go straight to gameplay. So let's get started on the options menu. Okay, so there's audio settings, video settings, and controls. Let's get to the audio settings first. Music volume, sound volume, voice volume, and music type. So this is pretty interesting. They have VHS and DVD, which basically means, I'm not sure you hear the difference, but this goes to mono and this goes to stereo, I think. The music is really well done in the game. It really fits the theme. I put the music volume sliders as you want them. Obviously, music volume, sound volume, and voice volume, all separate sliders. There is no master volume slider, which is a bit of a shame, but you can manage with these three just fine. There's full mouse control in the options menu, except for the back buttons and the like. You hear me clicking like a madman, but it doesn't. So you really have to press escape to go back, which is a weird oversight. I'm not sure what they were thinking there.
Wow, they really pack a lot of options into DVDs, don't they? Hey, you know,
so this voiceover you hear here is something that's going on through the entire game. This is the old director giving like a new commentary for the director's version. So resolution options, I don't like the fact that they don't have a drop down here. You have to scroll through all available options to get them. I don't like that. There is quite a few resolution options available in the game, so that's pretty good, but I don't like you have to scroll through them one by one. Brightness does what it does. Post-processing, you can put this on VHS, and they recommend this because it gives this like a movie grain filter for the game. I don't like it. I know it fits with the thematic theme, and if you really want to be in theme with the game, turn this on VHS. Otherwise, just do what I did, and yeah, leave it to post-processing.
Yeah, well, actually, I hadn't noticed.
VSync on or off, full screen on or off, motion blur, ambient occlusion, reflections, and cast shadows. All pretty well and decent. There is one thing though that really annoys me about this game, and that is that even with VSync on, there is a lot of screen tearing on my system. Now, I've looked and tried to find some information on this on other locations, but obviously the game isn't out yet, so there isn't that much information available so far. I've tried on 2 different machines, and they both had the same screen tearing. They both have completely different specs, so I'm not sure if it's just related to the 2 machines I have, but keep in mind there is definitely screen tearing in the game. Other than that, controls. You have controls for the controller. These are not rebindable, which is a bit of a shame. And then you have PC controls, which are all rebindable, which is good, obviously. And then default settings. So that is the options menu in a nutshell. The game has most options you request from a game that is more or less a 2.5D, 3D kind of game. The few things I am missing is anti-aliasing, which they may have added in post-processing, but I'm not sure. And that brings us to the end of the options menu, so let's get into some gameplay. So, gameplay. Let's get to it. As you can see, I've played the game for about more or less 5 hours, and I personally really enjoyed the narrative experience of the game. The director's overlay commentary and the producer's assistant commentary, as well as the in-game characters and cutscenes and all the set pieces, including the art and the sound, really make for a compelling experience. But if you do not enjoy the commentary, and if you do not enjoy the set experience of the art style and so on, the game is bland. The gameplay is pretty bland. So let me dive into this game. I'm about an hour in, and this is just before the first major boss. And I'm not going to show you the boss. What I'm going to show you is the various gameplay elements which make up the game. Now, you can see me being this robot here, and let me teleport to a different location. The game has a semi-open map where you can teleport to areas you've already been to. Let me go to... what's a good spot? Let me go to Ape Island South. There. And there's these checkpoints everywhere. Let's save the game. And you can change between the 3 available characters at will. So I'm gonna change to the Lady Scarlet and have her run around, do stuff. Now, if you can see on the video, there's quite a bit of screen tearing, as I said earlier in the options menu. And this is really annoying for me personally. But what is not annoying is the amazing aesthetic and art style of the game. Now, the game features a couple of melee weapons, a couple of ranged weapons, as well as special abilities. Now, every character can use all weapons, and each weapon is more or less the same. Left mouse button smacks, and you can switch between two melee weapons with Q. Right mouse button uses a ranged weapon, and you can switch between ranged weapons at will. They all more or less act the same way. Melee weapons all smack something and then it dies, and ranged weapons have a variety of different abilities, including and up to a wormhole gun or a black hole gun, which creates a singularity. So there's some more variety in ranged weapons and melee weapons, but in the end of the run, they all really pretty much do the same thing. Now, there's 8 melee weapons and 10 ranged weapons in the game, and you can switch between them at will as soon as you unlock them. So I'm gonna switch to my cannon here and this one, and then I have my ray gun. There. The game movement is probably my biggest bugbear, because the game is trying to emulate that very heavy B-movie feel. The movement really suffers for it. W, A, S, and D move you around the screen. But they always make you face the direction you're putting mouse cursor on. Now, the game is also coming out on PS4, and that probably has something to do with it. But that does not make it okay for this to be the way on PC, because honestly, it's really jarring, game breaking. Now you can see the art style a little bit, which, like, everything looks like plastic, and everything looks like foam and cardboard, and everything looks like it's really fake, like some old B movie, and that's exactly what they're going for. So that's amazing. You can also see the janky animations, and this is something I accept as an experience in terms of the narrative and cohesion they're trying to create in this world, but from a gameplay perspective, I really do not enjoy. Because, again, janky animations really break my immersion and break the feel I have of the game. Now, I can move around the game world quite effectively, and I can go to different areas. So if I go to the aerobatic ape phase, I can go up here, and then there are some hidden areas around the zone as well. Now, the game has a couple of cool mechanics, but it doesn't really utilize them that well. For example, there is a jetpack mechanic, so if I'm jumping down, I can go no and use my jetpack and prevent myself from dying, which is pretty interesting, but the game really doesn't use it often enough. One other mechanic that is also available, let me kill this thing here, there, die, no, die, good, is the game has a sort of redo mechanic. Now if I go all the way up here, and this is fully automated, you can teleport anywhere you want in the world, anywhere you've unlocked. So there's a couple of more spots I haven't unlocked. The game's about 4 or 5 hours long, depending on how much side stuff you do. I finished the first run in 4 hours 10 minutes and did quite a bit of side stuff, and if I rushed this run through, I could probably do it in 3.5 hours. And generally, for the narrative experience the game is trying to create, it is perfectly fine for it to be that length. You see, I'm falling down, oh no, oh no, oh no. I can press C, be all the way up top, and be fine. And that is fine. So you can have this little redo mechanic, which really helps out quite a bit. Sadly, it too is underutilized during the gameplay progression. Now, as you can see, the camera angle change as well. And again, that is all to re-emulate that graphic style where they're trying to be that B-movie and trying to imitate as if you're having different camera angles available to you based on how the shot was done initially. One thing that this has as main result though is that it really breaks the way you're playing. So if you're really playing a certain style, you can fall off these ledges really easily, and while that isn't the major issue with the retry mechanic in the air teleport, it is still very annoying to have to relearn how to move in a game when you're already used to moving in so many other games. Over the last couple of decades, honestly, this type of game, this pseudo 3D style, has really gotten a baseline standard for movement, a baseline standard for certain animation, and certain choreography of movements. And this game is breaking some of them to sort of be this narrative experience, and I don't like it. Now, if you do not like the narrative experience, so what you have seen so far in what I've shown you, you will not like this game at all. Because this is all the game is. It has this membered number of enemies that turn into gold when they die. And you run around through the world, you kill a few bosses, but more or less, this is the entire game. There is no additional depth to it. If you do enjoy the narrative, it is definitely a fun experience. And it's definitely a nice little spoof and combination of genres. Something we're definitely used to from Aceteam, obviously, with their Rock of Ages, as well as other games. Now, sometimes the game tries to add some variety in the gameplay. For example, it adds this green blob here, which forces you to do a few things different, like being careful of where you're standing in terms of the poison. But they only introduce 4 or 5 different mob types in the game. And for a game that has over, I guess, 20 or so mob types, it really isn't that impressive. Especially when you consider that bosses also do not add any new mechanics that you would not already seen before that point. Now this is one of the other mechanics the game introduces, where they tell you, oh no, enemies coming from below, shoot them. But in reality, all it really means is you stand at the ledge, hold down left mouse button, and well, that's it. You've done what the game wanted you to do. So you stand at the ledge and shoot the mobs below it, and if they come up on top, you can shoot them or strike them with a melee weapon, and that's really it. Now, there you go. And then the game allows you to progress further. Now, you probably have noticed that there's a couple of rings here, as well as this cog, and you'll get them more or less later on. So I'm gonna see if I can get it. It's probably gonna take me a couple of tries though. Most of the time you waste in this game to get that 4 to 6 hours is pretty much this. If you fail a couple of times in the jumps, and there's some challenges that they really don't do anything, they give you some achievements, on that you can add maybe a couple of hours extra of gameplay if you really want to, though I personally can't see why I would actually want to do that. So here's a good example of the game's comedy style, and you can see the director explaining why he would not wipe fingerprints off the screen while you see the fingerprints on the screen, so that's pretty nice. So I'll let you listen to this dialogue for a moment because it really shows the game's narrative while I killed a couple of these monsters before we progress further. And stuff like that. So if you like that, this game is a great example of a narrative experience that's done well. If you don't, well, it's a bland comedy and action game, I guess, and not that fun. But the narrative drives it, and it's pretty good. Now, one last thing I want to show you before I call it is the missions. Now, the missions are the challenges you have in the game. Some of these challenges are kill the boss man, and kill a large dinosaur with a dagger, fly through 20 hoops, and these don't really do anything, more or less. They really don't. They have no extra explanation. They're just in here to show you, oh, you can do these things, and they give you E-points, which is, you know, some people might like that if you're into completionist runs and stuff like that. The game also has a leveling system. I still do not know how this leveling system works. I'm assuming it works based on how far you've progressed in the story, which bosses you've killed, and probably what missions you have completed, but I don't know because the name never really tells you. All it does is when you see one of these units, you go up to it and says, oh, you have X upgrades available. These upgrades don't even really do anything that special because they're not that special. Most of what they do, you can more or less do on your own without any leveling at all. The leveling system itself is pretty well done. You have 3 choices you can make, and every level you have 3 choices you can make. Some of these choices repeat themselves, and you can see healing, melee damage, healing, melee damage, healing, melee damage, and so forth and so on. So there's not that much variety, but because they gave you a couple of different choices in what you want to level, it does give a bit of variety to the gameplay. But not enough to offset the utter blandness of the combat system. Now, you need to time Vortex to slow down, and this is one of the only times the game forces you to switch characters, which is kind of weird, because all the characters can use all the weapons, all the characters can interact with all the puzzles, but the only thing they force you to change chances for is the various special abilities the characters have, and you can see them on the bottom of the screen. Now, you unlock these special abilities as the game progresses. So this game tells me, hey, you use time vortex. Fine, I'm using the time vortex. And there we go. And I'm past this area, and that's really it. Now, again, there's no difference for me between this and what was previously shown here, as the only thing I'm really doing here is spamming my left bus button, waiting for this mob to fall over and die so I can progress into the story. There we go, that one's dead. Oh, and this one deflects bullets, but that's not a new ability, as we've seen squids previously do that before and or just dodge under bullets. So again, not a new mechanic, just a new skin on a mob. You can use this time slow, and then they die. And then it allows me to progress further. And this is the game up to the end. So if you've enjoyed what you've heard the director say, and if you've enjoyed the characters and the interaction, definitely try this game out. It is an amazing narrative experience. I really don't want to spoil the game because everything I would show you and tell you is already a spoiler. It is that heavily driven on its narrative. But if you've seen the mechanics so far and you're not impressed, you won't be impressed. So the game comes out on the 19th of January at a price point of $15 on Steam with a sale on the initial start date. If you've liked the narrative, I urge you to check it out. If you didn't, I pass this one up and see for a sale down the line in a couple of years just to experience the narrative. The game will last you 4 to 5 hours depending on how many side quests you do, and overall it was a fun experience for me, but I honestly have no contemplation reason to play this any further. Now, again, the cohesion of the art style is so good that even the stop menu looks like a DVD menu, so that's really, really good. Sadly, the gameplay cannot keep up with the narrative cohesion. So, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, press the like button below. If you didn't like this video, press the dislike button and leave a comment telling us exactly what you would like us to do different. You can also click the subscribe button if this is the kind of content you would like to see more. And you can check out the Deadly Tower of Monsters over on Steam. And also, I've put the link in the description below. And we'll see you right here on Guy Logic next time.